So a bit before we finish, we got to the issue of job control. So sometimes we need to send a software interrupt to our process while it's still running or maybe stuck. So there are three basic software interrupts that we use often. Control C sends this signal called SIGINT to the process, and usually that kills it. Sometimes it does something else. If we for sure want to kill it, we can do Control Backscape. That sends this signal quit to the process, and that really will usually kill it. Finally, we have this Control Z, which pauses a process by sending a sig stop signal to the process. What that does is basically it means that the process stops running and we can continue running whatever we were doing before. So we have a command line and we're doing something, and then we run a process. The process will take over basically our command line, and we won't be able to run more processes. If we do Control Z, it will pause it, we'll get our command line back, and we can continue running things in our process. A common thing to do is to pause a process and then put it in the background by doing BG. Okay, FG will continue the process. Now, the thing is, what if we ran several processes and paused them? So, which one do we put in the background and foreground? And we can see by running the command jobs which processes are currently running. So we run jobs, and we'll see all the processes will be in square brackets with a number. And then if we do FG percentage whatever the number was, it will put that process in the foreground, or BG percentage the number, will put it in the background. Now, when a process is running in the background, we can continue using our command line and our other programs while that is still working. And this is often a case where we want things to run in the background to begin with. So by shorthand, we just add an ampersand after it. So for instance, we want to run Firefox. We don't want it to take over our command line, so our command line is unusable. So instead of writing Firefox, then doing Control Z and writing BG, what we'll do is we'll do Firefox ampersand, and automatically it will be run in the background. So that's something that's very common to do. So again, we can move a certain process to the foreground by doing FG and the number of the process, or we can kill it by using kill and the number of the process. And sometimes the killing doesn't work. Often kill -9 is like a forcible kill. So what we can do is we can use a program called xkill, which actually allows us to point at a window, and the desktop manager will often be able to kill the process. Be really careful when you use these things. So now let's go over to see how job control works. So if I was to do something like, a find command on the root, what I'm going to get is a long list of stuff that's going to take a long time to read. So I can press Control C, and as you see, it canceled it and killed it. Let's do that again, okay? And I can press Control and backslash and kill it as well. So those are two ways to kill it. But let's say I didn't want to kill it, I wanted it to continue running. So I could do find and find again, and then if I do Control Z, then it just paused it. And then I write jobs, and you see that I have a task number 1 is stopped, and that's task that's called find, and I can return it to running by doing FG %1. I could just do FG as well. It would understand it's %1, and it continues running it. So these are kind of the things that I can do with this software interrupt type of a thing. Right now, when I look at jobs, I don't have any jobs left because I killed that job. Okay, that is kind of the things that you can do. Another thing that's worth checking out with the foreground and background jobs is I can start things running in the background. So let's say I have this program called Events, which is a PDF viewer. And as you see now, I have my PDF viewer open, and I can play with it and do all kinds of things with it. But this is dead. I can't do anything really. Let's say I want to do ls-l. Doesn't work. My screen over here is basically dead. So what I can do is I can kill this, right? I can stop it, and then I go back over here, and then it had in the buffer ls-l and ran it. But I want to have them both running at the same time. So one way to do it is to run again events, okay? And then go back over here and do Control Z. It will stop that, so it's now paused. And look, I can go over to events, but now I can't press on anything. It's kind of dead. The process is paused right now. So what I can do is I can again do FG. It will return it to the foreground, and now I have that in the foreground. Okay, but I don't want it in the foreground, so again I paused it. I can have it in the background. So again, if I have the jobs over here, so I can do BG number 1, and now events is running in the background, and I can do different things with it. Okay, so I can play around with it again. Um, uh, so I did that. I can also, again, I can kill it, right? So kill, usually -9 is a really hard kill. Okay, and I do number 1, and let's see, did it kill it? It did kill it. I have something else open over here, but yes. So I was able to kill events, but the way that I can really run it automatically running in the background is to run it with this and sign. So events and now I have my events over here running, but I can still use my prompt over here. So ls-l is still going to work. So that's often what we do is we run things in the background like that, and you see that events is running in the background. And now it's number 2. And again, what I can do is now I can kill it. Again, kill number 2. And let's see, okay, I don't have events running over here. No more jobs running. So that's running things in the background and killing them. We can also use the PS command to see all the processes that are running. PS will show the list of all running processes in the current terminal, but if we use PS minus U username, it'll show all the processes that our user is running on this server. Okay, PS minus A will show all the running processes, and there are going to be a lot of them. For a graphical representation of these different processes running, we can use the top command, which we can see over here, a screenshot of that, or the htop command, which we can see is a bit more pretty, but this is kind of the classic one. And if we look at the top command, it provides all the processes that are running on the server and all kinds of data about how much CPU usage there is and how much memory there is and so forth. And you can do all kinds of things in it, like sort all the jobs according to one of the columns. For example, the memory column. You want to see who's hogging all the memory on the machine and why your machine isn't working. So you hit Shift M and it will put the process that's hogging everything at the top, and you can see who the user is and call them up and tell them, either tell them or the system administrator to kill their process. Another thing is you can just kill a process of yours that's become a runaway by pressing K and then entering the PID over here, the process ID, and it will be able to kill the process. So another option for, process control and so forth is the top command. And the top command gives me this type of a view of all the processes that are running and so forth. And what I can do, for example, is I can hit U and it'll say which user, and I only want to show, say, the processes for my user. So I write Teman AD, and you see now it only shows me the processes that I'm running and their process IDs and so forth. And I can do something like Shift M, which will sort it according to how much memory they're using. I can also do a Shift right arrow or left arrow. It will change the column which is used for sorting. There are all kinds of different options over there. And I press Q to release that. There is a more kind of colorful and nice looking version which is called htop. So I can use that as well. And Q will also go out of that. So before we finish, I'm going to show some more cool commands. So let's start with the sort command. So if I take some sort of a file that has names or something in it and I do sort names, it's going to sort it, or sort -r will sort it according to reverse alphabetical order. Okay. One thing that often happens is that I have duplicates inside a file. So I can use unique, like to uniquify the file, and then any two lines that are exactly equivalent will be unified, and the second line will be deleted. But that doesn't really help because the lines may be scattered throughout the file. So often I will sort them, take the output, and pipe it into the unique command. Another thing I can do is count the number of words in a file, actually the number of lines, the number of words, and the number of characters. And that's the WC, or word count command, does that. So if I do WC on names.txt, it will tell me how many lines there are in the file. So what I can do actually is to sort the file, then uniquify it to get rid of duplicates, and then count count the words, and that will show me how many names there are inside the file. So these are kind of cool things that I can do. There's a lot more you can do in Unix. So a final few things I want to show. So let's go back to my home directory. So I'm going to go cd tilde is going to go back to my home directory. And remember that we had a file over here that was called names, and there I prepared a few names. So if I look at that file, I have all these names, Joe Blow and John Smith and Charlie Brown and so forth inside this file. So what I can do now is I can do a sort command on names, and you'll see that now it put it in sorted order. So it starts with C, D, J, etc. I also have some names that repeat themselves, like John and John Smith. By the way, I can also do sort -R on names, and it will do it in reverse order. So what I can also do is I can run a unique on names, and I see that it didn't do much. I still have John Smith over here and John Smith over here. So what is commonly done, I will do sort names. Okay, that puts John Smith next to John Smith over here. And after I do sort names, I will pipe it into unique. And then I only have one John Smith in the file. So that's something that I often do to remove duplicates. Now, another thing I can do is I can count the number of lines I have over here. So word count on names says that there are 12 names over here, 22 words and 132 characters. But what I'd often want to do is I want to first unique things. So I'm going to, again, sort names, pipe it into unique to get rid of the duplicates, and then count the number of words. And I see I'm only left with 11 names over here, 20 words altogether, and 121 characters after I got rid of the extra John Smith. This is the end of this introduction, and it's been a long but short introduction to Unix. There's a lot more you can do with Unix, Linux, and so forth and so on. So this is really just the beginning. And if we go to, if you start to use Linux already, you better get familiar with XKCD, which is where all the geek comics are. And you can see this true story about Linux, where week one, you call up your cousin, ask him to help you install Linux on your computer. Week two, Xorg is broken. What's an Xorg? Where can I look that up? Oh, well, let me show you some man pages. By week 6, due to autoconfig issues, I'm leaving Ubuntu for Debian. Those are two different distros, just for you newbies. Gentoo. By week 12, you haven't answered your phone in days. Can't sleep. I must compile the Linux kernel. I'm too late. Parents, talk to your kids about Linux before somebody else does. So that was all, and I hope you enjoyed.